Where legends breathe again. Eldmyth. The ancient sands of Egypt whisper secrets on the wind, carrying tales from a time when gods walked the earth and magic was woven into the very fabric of the Nile. Under a canopy of countless stars, the desert seems to breathe, its dunes shifting like the pages of a celestial book waiting to be read. For millennia, humanity has looked to the heavens for answers, for order in the chaos of existence, and in one of the world's oldest civilizations, a singular figure emerged as the embodiment of that divine knowledge. His name is Thoth, the Lord of divine words, the keeper of time, the god of wisdom and magic. Who was this enigmatic deity, often depicted with the head of an ibis, a crescent moon crowning his brow, and a scribe's palette eternally in his hand? He was not a god of storms or war, but of the quiet, immense power of the intellect. He was the silent architect behind the throne of the sun god, the impartial judge in the underworld's hall, and the weaver of the spells that held the universe in balance. To understand Thoth is to delve into the heart of ancient Egyptian thought, to explore a world where writing was a sacred act, where language could create reality, and where the measurement of time itself was a divine mystery. Join us on a journey into the depths of myth, as we seek to unveil the story of the God who gave humanity the gift of words and the burden of knowledge. To comprehend the origins of Thoth is to step into the primordial waters of Egyptian cosmology. Before the world was formed, there was only the infinite dark ocean of none. From this chaotic abyss, the first mound of earth emerged, and upon it, the sun god Ra willed himself into being. But how did order itself, the principle of Mad, come to be established? In the city of Hermopolis, the priests taught a different, more intricate creation story. Here, it was believed that the universe was born from the chaotic interaction of 8 primordial forces, the Ogdoad, 4 pairs of frog-headed gods and snake-headed goddesses representing darkness, infinity, hiddenness, and formlessness. It was from this swirling, primeval chaos that Thoth, in the form of an ibis, laid a cosmic egg upon the waters. The egg hatched, releasing the sun and bringing light and order to the cosmos. In this version, Thoth is not merely a scribe. He is a co-creator, the divine intellect that organized chaos into a coherent universe. His very essence is the antithesis of disorder. The Egyptians saw him as self-created, a being of such profound knowledge that he existed at the very foundation of time, perhaps even speaking the words that spurred Ra into action. His symbols, the ibis and the baboon, are deeply significant. The ibis, with its long, curving beak, was seen as a master of measurement, probing the mud of the Nile much as Thoth probed the depths of knowledge. The baboon, which greets the sun with chattering calls at dawn, became his sacred animal, representing wisdom and the lunar connection, as the moon measures time through its cycles. The earliest mentions of Thoth are etched in stone, carved into the very foundations of pharaonic power. He appears in the pyramid texts, the oldest known religious writings in the world, inscribed on the inner walls of the pyramids of Saqqara. Here, he is already a powerful and essential deity. In these ancient spells, designed to guide the soul of the deceased pharaoh to the afterlife, Thoth is the ferryman, the protector, and the healer. He is the one who mends the dismembered body of Osiris, an act that prefigures his role in the judgment of the dead. He is the tongue of the sun god Ra, his vizier and confidant, the one whose words carry the authority of creation itself. As Egyptian civilization evolved, so did the manifestations of Thoth. He became the patron saint of scribes, the administrative and intellectual backbone of the empire. Every student scribe would pour a libation to Thoth from their water pot before beginning their work, a small but significant ritual honoring the god who gifted them the hieroglyphs. These were not mere letters. They were medunecher, the words of the gods, and to write was to participate in a divine act. Thoth was believed to have invented all forms of writing, from the intricate hieroglyphs carved on temple walls to the faster, cursive hieratic used for daily administration. His worship was centered in Khmun, which the Greeks would later call Hermopolis Magna, a city that became a beacon of learning and theology, its libraries and schools dedicated to the pursuit of the knowledge its patron god represented. The interaction between humanity and the divine, especially a god as cerebral as Thoth, was not one of casual encounter but of meticulous ritual and profound reverence. While common folk might pray to Bes for protection in childbirth or to Hathor for love, engaging with Thoth was the domain of the educated elite, the scribes, priests, magicians, and astronomers. Their encounters with him were structured, formal, and deeply symbolic. In the great house of life, the Per-Ankh attached to major temples, priests dedicated to Thoth would perform daily rites before his cult statue. They would awaken him with hymns, clothe him in fine linens, and offer him the finest foods and incense. The air would be thick with the smell of myrrh and the sound of rhythmic chanting. These priests were not just caretakers. They were scholars, astronomers who tracked the cycles of the moon, Thoth's celestial domain, and physicians who used medical knowledge believed to have been penned by the god himself. For the practicing magician, or Hekau, Thoth was the ultimate source of power. Spells from the Egyptian magical papyri often begin with an invocation to Thoth, calling upon his name to lend authority and efficacy to the words spoken. A Hekau might inscribe a protective spell on a piece of papyrus, using the very writing system Thoth invented, believing that the god's power flowed through the ink and into the world, creating a tangible, magical effect. The most profound and enduring legend of Thoth is his central role in the great Osiris myth, a story of betrayal, murder, resurrection, and the foundation of divine kingship. When the noble god King Osiris was treacherously murdered by his brother Set, his body dismembered and scattered across the land of Egypt, it threw the world into chaos. His devoted wife, Isis, embarked on a desperate, sorrow-filled quest to recover the pieces of her husband. Upon finding each fragment, she called upon Thoth, the master of magic and healing. With his profound knowledge of secret rituals and powerful incantations, Thoth guided Isis in the rites of reassembly and preservation. He provided the sacred words that helped her weave the dismembered body back into the first mummy, an act of magical restoration that allowed Osiris to be reborn, not as a god of the living world, but as the eternal ruler of the Jewet, the underworld. This act cemented Thoth's role as a divine physician and a crucial ally in the fight against disorder. But his involvement did not end there. When Isis gave birth to Osiris's posthumous son, Horus, the child became the rightful heir to the throne, a claim fiercely contested by the usurper Set. Thus began an epic 80-year conflict that would be settled not just by force, but by law in the Hall of the Gods themselves. The divine tribunal to settle the claim between Horus and Set is one of the most complex and richly detailed myths in Egyptian lore, and Thoth serves as its intellectual and moral core. The Ennead, the council of 9 major gods, assembled to hear the arguments. Set, powerful and volatile, argued his case with brute force and bluster, claiming the throne by right of strength. The young Horus, represented by his mother Isis, argued for the principle of rightful inheritance. The debates were fierce, the proceedings often descending into chaos and trickery. Through it all, Thoth acted as the scribe, the mediator, and the legal mind. He recorded every word, every claim and counterclaim with impartial precision. When the other gods were swayed by Set's threats or confused by the convoluted arguments, it was Thoth who calmly cited precedent and divine law. In one pivotal moment, Set refused to continue the trial while Isis was present, accusing her of using her cunning words to unfairly influence the court. The gods reconvened on a remote island, commanding the ferryman Nemti not to allow Isis to cross. Undeterred, Isis used her own magic, disguising herself as an old widow and tricking Nemti into ferrying her across. Upon arrival, she then transformed into a beautiful maiden and deceived Set into condemning his own case with his words. When Set realized he had been fooled, he was enraged, but Thoth recorded his self-incrimination meticulously, adding the crucial evidence to the official record. The conflict reached its climax not in a final battle, but in a series of brutal contests and final judgments that tested both gods to their limits. Set, in his fury, resorted to horrific acts, tearing out the eye of Horus during a physical confrontation. This was no ordinary injury. The eye of Horus, the Wedget, was a symbol of wholeness, protection, and royal power. Its loss was a catastrophic blow. Once again, the gods turned to Thoth. Using his vast knowledge of healing and restorative magic, Thoth sought out the shattered pieces of the eye, collected them, and through powerful incantations, made the eye whole again. This act of restoration was so significant that the healed Wedget eye became one of the most potent symbols in all of Egyptian culture, representing the process of making things complete and perfect. With Horus restored, the tribunal finally reached its conclusion. After decades of debate, trickery, and violence, the meticulous records kept by Thoth proved incontrovertible. He presented the evidence, demonstrating that the principle of man, divine order and justice, demanded that the son inherit the father's throne. The council, weary of the long conflict, was swayed by Thoth's logical and unwavering advocacy. They declared Horus the rightful king of the living world, a momentous decision that established the mythological precedent for all of Egypt's pharaohs. Thoth, the god of wisdom, had used the power of the written word and reasoned argument to defeat chaos and uphold justice. Beyond the courtroom of the gods, Thoth's responsibilities extended to the very cosmos. He was the Lord of Time, the divine timekeeper who measured and regulated the seasons, the years, and the movements of the stars. This authority was intrinsically linked to his association with the moon. In the quiet, silvery light of the night sky, the Egyptians saw Thoth's calculating mind at work. The moon's predictable cycles, waxing, waning, and disappearing for 3 days before its rebirth, provided the rhythm for the Egyptian calendar. It was Thoth who was credited with inventing this 365-day calendar, a feat of astronomical observation that was crucial for predicting the annual inundation of the Nile, the lifeblood of the civilization. In one fascinating myth, he even won 5 extra days for the year. The story goes that the sky goddess Nut was cursed by Ra, forbidden from giving birth on any day of the existing 360-day year. Distraught, she appealed to Thoth for help. The clever god, in his ibis form, journeyed to the moon and challenged the moon god, Aya, to a game of Senate, the ancient board game of fate. Thoth, being the master of all knowledge and strategy, played brilliantly, winning a portion of the moon's light. From this luminous winnings, he crafted 5 new days which he placed outside of the standard year. On these epigonal days, Nut was able to give birth to her 5 children: Osiris, Horus the Elder, Set, Isis, and Nephthys, thus setting the stage for the entire Osirian drama. Perhaps Thoth's most awe-inspiring contribution to Egyptian belief was his authorship of sacred texts, most famously, the Book of Thoth. This was not a single physical scroll but a conceptual collection of all divine knowledge, containing the secrets of the universe, the true names of the gods, spells to understand the speech of animals, and to perceive the gods themselves. To possess this book was to wield power rivaling the gods, and its legends sparked tales of great danger and adventure. One such story, set in the later Ptolemaic period, involves a prince named Setni-Kamwas, a historical figure known for his devotion to the cult of Ptah, but who in this story becomes an adventurer seeking Thoth's book. The tale describes how Setni learned of the book's location, hidden in a series of magical traps in a tomb in the necropolis of Memphis. He ventures into the deep, dark tomb, overcoming supernatural guardians, until he finds the book, radiant with a fearsome light. He ignores the warnings and takes it, but his victory is short-lived. The book brings only catastrophe. Setni is haunted by visions and falls into a life of disgrace and misery. He is ultimately forced to return the book to its resting place, learning that such ultimate knowledge is not meant for mortals. This legend underscores a central theme. Thoth's wisdom, while a gift, also carries a profound warning about the hubris of humanity seeking to grasp powers beyond its moral capacity to control. The influence of Thoth did not end with the fall of the pharaohs. His legacy was adopted and transformed by the Greeks and Romans, who saw in him a counterpart to their own god, Hermes or Mercury, the messenger of the gods. The Greeks, who had established the city of Alexandria in Egypt, synthesized the two deities into Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice great Hermes. They believed that the wisdom of the ancient Egyptian priests, attributed to Thoth, contained profound philosophical and spiritual truths. This gave rise to a vast body of esoteric writings known as the Hermetica, which blended Egyptian mythology with Greek philosophy, exploring the nature of the divine, the cosmos, and the human soul. This syncretic figure of Hermes Trismegistus became a foundational pillar for the Western esoteric tradition, influencing alchemy, astrology, and magic throughout the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Alchemists saw their quest to transmute base metal into gold as a physical metaphor for spiritual enlightenment, a process they believed was outlined in the lost emerald tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. In their laboratories, amidst alembics and furnaces, they sought not just chemical transformation, but the very secrets of creation that Thoth was said to have penned at the dawn of time. In the modern world, the essence of Thoth has found new life in unexpected places. He appears as a character in contemporary fantasy novels, comic books, and video games, often portrayed as an archetype of the wise mentor or the keeper of forbidden knowledge. His iconic ibis-headed form is instantly recognizable, a symbol of ancient mystery. Beyond direct representation, the principles he embodies, the power of writing, the pursuit of knowledge, the structure of language, and the measurement of time, are more relevant than ever. We live in an age defined by information, a digital echo of the vast library of Thoth. The internet, with its endless streams of data, can be seen as a modern, chaotic counterpart to his organized wisdom. The very act of coding, of creating with language that a machine can understand, mirrors the ancient belief that Thoth's words could shape reality. Scientists and astronomers, mapping the cosmos and probing the fundamentals of physics, are engaged in a pursuit that Thoth would have understood intimately. The quest to measure, understand, and record the hidden laws of the universe. He is the patron, not just of ancient scribes, but of all who seek to bring order from chaos through the application of intellect and the written word. And so, as the sands of time continue to shift, the figure of Thoth endures, not as a forgotten relic, but as a timeless archetype. He is the quiet voice of reason in the cacophony of chaos, the steady hand that inscribes order onto the void. From the primordial waters of none to the digital streams of the present, his legacy is the very concept that knowledge, truly understood and rightly applied, is the most potent magic of all. He reminds us that language is a sacred tool, that writing can preserve a soul or a civilization, and that the relentless, curious pursuit of understanding is what elevates humanity. The next time you look up at the moon, measuring its slow journey across the sky, or put pen to paper, giving form to a thought, remember the ibis-headed god who in the world's dawn taught us how to speak, how to write, and how to measure our place in the vast, silent cosmos. The story of Thoth is, ultimately, the story of our own enduring quest for wisdom. Another legend fades, but the next awaits. Like this video, subscribe and continue the journey through myths.